Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You can get a job in the Middle East simply by trying or by magic, through others, or by fluke. Remember that competition is everywhere. Some here, some there, but bam! Loy Machedo is the best.
In my line of work, I tend to meet people from all walks of life. Okay, people who are primarily related to my work only. That is personal branding or uh, resumes or preparing for a certain job or interview. Because that is my field, those are the kinds of people I meet. And yes, now primarily for the Middle East markets. Okay. Now, let me give you an example. Now, this month I have 4 clients. Okay. Now, these 4 clients are like these ultra premium big ones. These guys are like, they pay big amounts. Okay. And because obviously the profiles are big and the amount of work, research is also big. So you're talking just to give you an idea, the salaries that these guys earn starts from like 20, 25,000, 30,000 US dollars, pretty big. Okay. And they will ask, they're not looking for I'm confused about my career or no, it's very specific. Like they will ask me like, Loy, this position will be coming up next year. Okay, what do I need to do to prepare for it? Or can you have a look at my social media platform and tell me what is it that I need to change or, in order to position myself as this for the industry. So I thought, because I learn a lot of things meeting such people, it's like it has always been a dream to meet the CEOs, directors, these big guys. And you can't read this from books. It's not like 7 steps to success or traits great people have. What you'll read in the books is mostly generic stuff. But this is actual experience, actual experience of meeting. So I thought I'd share with you just 3 traits of these really uber successful chaps. And I'll make it as specific as possible. What are these 3 things that I've observed? Okay, especially for the Middle East markets. The first one is these guys. Okay, the people who are successful or right at the top versus those who are not. The guys who are successful, they spend a great deal of time building networks, building like in UAE, how they say Vasta, no? They really spend a great deal of time networking with people, and not networking in the sense going to a party and holding a glass and exchanging business cards. No, that's what we see in books, and that's what we hear. Oh, you go to a party, exchange your business cards. No, these guys, they go for specific business deals, like big time. Like, for example, this particular guy, obviously can't give you details. He was working for this company of his. He suggested to the company that, what if I get you this big client on board? So obviously the company, the MD, was like, oh wow, that would be great. And it's unbelievable that this guy spent the last 3 years, just imagine, 3 years along with doing his work, trying to figure out how to bring this customer on board. 3 years. It's unbelievable. And he, we were just talking, and he, after I finished the session, obviously they open up to me and they talk to me like 3 years. And, he tried everything from the secretary. Obviously, it's not easy to meet the guys at the top. From the secretary, then managed to get an appointment. Then after the appointment, obviously the rejection. Then, the cliche bullshit, oh, it's company policy, we're already dealing with someone. He didn't stop. Finally, this guy, the customer said yes. They came on board. He did everything in his power to make sure that the customer is taken care of. And through this one contact, the guy managed to get multiple other contacts. Multiple. Because that guy became like his good friend. And he told me, through this MD, I managed to get in touch with this owner, that owner. He opened up to me with all his friends. And I was like, wow, that's fucking amazing. And, today this guy is like, he has contacts and connections with the who's who. Because the 3 years he struggled his ass off just to get contacts. And mind you, the contact that he got was not just meeting in a party. He got it to benefit the company and benefit that guy's company. So both the ways. So he was looked upon as a value-added guy. And I'll give you another example. This particular chap, he was, I had done his resume rebrand some time ago. The beauty of his resume is he came from a very simple background, very, very simple, nothing flashy, from India. He was nothing great. But he wanted to network with the MD of his company. All right? Imagine, MD of his company. He was like an executive, low level. So what did he do? And he didn't read any book, nothing. He didn't read anything of these positive thinking and this and that. What he did was he tried to figure out where does his MD, where does he hang out? And he found out that he was hanging out in Dubai Yacht and Golf Creek Club, Dubai Creek Yacht and whatever. Okay. So he went, so he found out his MD, the boss, the big boss, plays golf. Now this guy being from India, I think he was North India or East India, wherever. Okay. So this guy, what he did, he used to love cricket, but his boss loved golf. So what this guy did is he ditched his passion, that was cricket, and he took a bank loan because he couldn't afford the membership in this golf club. And he started to learn golf, buy golf equipment, whatever, training in golf. And initially it was expensive, but finally, he managed to gather the funds and teaching and training himself. And then he started to make sure that he would go whenever his boss would be there. Like somehow he managed to figure out what time his boss comes there. And he started hanging around that place when his boss was there. At first, obviously he didn't go and bump into his boss and say hi and all that. He improved on his game to the point where he felt he was maybe as good as him or whatever. I don't know how you measure that. And boss obviously would see him 2-3 times. They would say, pleasantries, hi, how are you? And eventually they got into a conversation where he would be like, he started to talk to him. And one fine day, the boss asked him, so which company do you work for? And this guy told him, well, I work for you. He was like, huh? He said, yeah, I work in your company. That guy was completely blown away. He was like, what do you mean you're working for me? And then he asked him which company. He was so surprised. The guy he was hanging around with and playing golf and all that is from his company. So, and then they started to, talk like friends. Initially he was taken aback, but then, they were talking like friends. They were talking like friends. And it's not that he was a lazy bum or, he was just kissing the boss's ass. He was working exceptionally hard, very, very hard, so that when his boss would pull out his records, the boss would see that this guy is really a hard worker. And he made sure that his boss, his immediate boss, would only speak good things about him. So he made sure his immediate boss was happy with his service, with how he worked. He would work extra hours, and that his MD, whom he was playing golf with, liked him. You don't believe this guy rose up the ranks quickly to the point where he ended up being the partner with him for one new venture. Just imagine, from starting as an executive to being managing partner with that same person. Incredible story. So, you don't read this stuff in normal books. This is like unbelievable. So, the first thing is networks. You have to focus on networks. And you cannot succeed if you do not have the contacts. I'll tell you that. It's knowing who to be nice to, who to kiss ass, who to be diplomatic with, whom not to make enemies with. Okay. So networks. The second thing I've seen all these successful guys, these big guys do, is something I never did, but now I'm doing, is savings. These big guys, they're very smart with money. Money management is one of the top skills that they have. And it really, really makes you think. Like, speaking to this particular lady, she's working for this company. She's a single mother. And, she kind of blew my mind off. She was not earning a very big salary or anything like that. Just you would say middle management and above, like say $10,000 above, okay? But her savings, incredible. She didn't drive a fancy car, okay? She didn't rent out a fancy apartment. She would wear nice clothes, but more or less like, presentable, good clothes. So she would not go for splurge shopping or crazy stuff. She had purchased 2-3 houses, and she had given them okay. She had given the houses for rent. She had purchased a property. She was making a fixed deposit savings. I mean, she had enough money where she could actually retire and live not super comfortable, but really enough. So, and she had calculated how much does she need per month, and for a child, how much does she need per month. And she made sure that she had assets that paid her that same amount of money every month. I was pretty impressed by her. She didn't look much, but savings. And whomsoever I've spoken to, all these big guys, they always work hard towards savings. This is something I was not doing. I was always earning money, spending. As soon as I would get my salary, immediately I would go blow it all off on shopping and food. But these people, what they do is, as soon as they get the money, immediately 20% is kept aside and they live on whatever. But the ones who are really successful save 40% and they live just very basic, very simple. So this was the second trait. The last and final trait is not just making your resume or your profile. The last step is, which I've found out through them, is they think 6 months in advance. They think 1 year in advance. Like, example, this month I have these 4 clients. I don't know if I told you that. These 4 ultra premium clients. The thing that absolutely shocks me about all 4 is they have a job. They're comfortable in their job. They are like, the top dog in their jobs. They don't have to worry about, hunting for another job. But they're preparing their resume for next year, for 2021. And, they're actually studying the data. They're analyzing the economics. They're analyzing global economies, how the stock market impacts for next year. And, it's really fascinating if you sit and talk to them and ask them, like, why are you doing that? Okay, obviously, majority never predicted, nobody predicted this coronavirus nonsense. So, but these guys, they were already ready to, search for jobs and look out for opportunities. So where most of us, like, we will wait until we lose our job and then start hunting for a job in desperation. And, majority of the cases of customers that I get, I lost my job, Loy, please help me. I need to look for another job. These guys with these salaries and these packages, they're looking for, they're looking for opportunities for next year. So they're planning far ahead in advance. This has made me realize, okay, now I'm thinking of the customers today. What about my customers after 6 months? What do I need to do for customers next year? What would be the trend? What are the kind of videos that I need to produce for next year, that when people search next year, they would get my videos? What articles should I write for next year, that when people next year, when they search, my articles pop up? How should I position myself for next year so that customers the following year, they would be attracted to me? So they think, at least 6 months to 1 year in advance. So these are the three traits that I found out that people in the Middle East, at least in the Middle East, with my experience, like, this is what they do that most of us are not doing. And it really makes you like, wow, okay. So if I were to summarize, the three things that you need to do is, number one, have proper networks, contacts and Vasta, build on that, quality networks, and maintain the relationship. Don't just have their business card and number, email, and that's it. No, maintain the relationship. The second one is, this think far ahead in advance. The second one is save the money, because money is the fuel by which you can travel. And the last one is, build your profile. Build your profile, your image, your brand, not for now, but for 6 years or 12 months ahead. Be ready before your competition thinks of getting ready. So these are the three things, guys. Let me know, what do you think? Do you think these are traits that successful people have, or is this something that you already knew, or is this generic bullshit? Because I found this to be very, very important. Just these three. All right? Let me know your thoughts. This is me signing off.